Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome back yet again to the Accelerate Your Life podcast. You have me, as always, your host, Mallory Marks. I feel like my name was destined for more. I feel like Mallory Marks, I think I should be on stages somewhere, being a pop star, I don't know. Here we are. We'll make the podcast something big. But let's go ahead and dive into today's episode. I'm excited for this one because this is going to be unique. I don't know how this is going to work because this is going to be a very visual podcast, and that's kind of an oxymoron because podcasts aren't visual. You will still get a lot out of this episode, I think, if you are listening to it as a podcast, but this is one where I definitely want to direct you to the YouTube channel if you are able to watch. If you are listening to this while you're driving, please be safe. You will get a lot out of this with just the audio. But if you're just sitting, chilling, I would highly recommend going to the YouTube channel and watching this episode on YouTube. Which, fun fact, if you didn't know, all the podcast episodes are also on YouTube. I record all podcast episode on video as well. So if you're somebody who's visual, you can always go listen to any of the episodes with me talking and seeing my beautiful face. But this one especially, I'm going to be sharing my screen. And we're going to be diving into a client case study on this episode. And I got this idea because the EA coaches, so we have 5 assistant coaches plus me, so there's 6 of us. And we have a meeting every week, but once a month, our meeting entails having a client case study. So one of the coaches, we all switch off. We bring to the meeting a very detailed case study of one of our clients. And it's typically like they've been through several months of coaching, different, stages of their body composition or different challenges or whatever. And the coach is now presenting on what they were able to do to combat it and how we were able to get the results we got. And it's really used to be used as a educational tool for all the other coaches to kind of see how other coaches go about things and learn, different science of different protocols and be able to ask questions. It's really been so awesome. We implemented this 6 months ago. And it's been so cool to get to see in depth the other clients of Accelerate Athletics and how the other coaches are handling some things. And we just continue to feed off each other and learn off each other. But anyway, I presented mine last month. And when I finished the presentation to them, I was like, I need to record this as a podcast episode because I think that this client specifically is so relatable. It's one of my clients who I've been working with for well, I can't remember off the top of my head, but we're going to find out when I go through this presentation. I think 2 years now. We've been working together for 2 years. So there's so much packed into this, and you're going to learn so much if you listen to this full episode. But I think that what this client has been through in her journey is so relatable to so many people, especially if you are somebody listening to this who it's more so maybe your struggle is your relationship with food and also the fact that you probably aren't super out of shape or anything like that, but you are struggling with your confidence and you know that you are capable of more and you have body compositions that changes that you want to make, but all you've ever known is really a restrictive approach, a very diet culture-esque approach, and it's not leading you to get the results that you want. It's mentally burning you out. It's causing you to, go through maybe cycles of binging and restricting. You're having a poor relationship with food. You feel guilty all the time. If any of that resonates with you, this client case study is going to very, very much resonate with you. And I think it's going to give you a lot of confidence that you can do this and that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I think it's also going to give you a lot of insight on maybe what to do, whether on your own or, or with a coach, but I think you could learn a lot here of even what to kind of change on your own. So, all of that to say, I hope you guys enjoy this episode. I hope that you get a lot out of it if you're listening to it on audio too, but definitely go check out the YouTube channel. And it's the same as my Instagram. It's Mal's, MALSS fit, and then the letter N, foods, fit in foods. Cool. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen without further ado. I'm going to do my best to tell you everything that's on the screen. And the only thing that you're going to really be missing, if you are listening to this as straight audio, is the client in questions, progress pictures. You just won't be able to see those, but I think you'll be able to understand probably the changes that are being made between those. And then the things I'm saying are just written in pretty bullet points on the screen. But I think, again, you're going to be able to get a lot out of this still. So this is the client case study of Miss Hannah Matar. She, again, has been a client for, I think, about 2 years with Accelerate Athletics. And we'll kind of give a little bit of a background of where she was before Accelerate Athletics. So this is prior to her starting coaching with us. When she came in, she was eating on the nutritional side of things. She was eating about 1,300 to 1,600 calories a day during the week. and then being very extreme on the weekends, usually going, a lot more overboard, having lots of drinks, having cheat meals, etc. So it was very much a like, you know, different ends of the pendulum during the week and then versus the weekend. And on the screen right now, and I'll read these to you if you are listening audio, but on the screen right now, I have a couple of her answers from her initial client intake form that kind of highlight where she was mentally with her fitness journey, with her relationship with food. So one of the questions is that we always ask any of our clients when they come in is, how is your relationship with food? Do you have any history of an eating disorder or disordered eating? Because obviously this is something that we need to take into high consideration when setting anybody's plan. There's a right answer, like scientifically, for what's going to move the dial when it comes to the right calories for someone or whatever. But the other part that is so important is somebody's mindset. And like, you can't go into a very like strict approach with somebody who has a poor relationship with food, or it's just going to continue to get more obsessive and worse. Like, you have to take those things into consideration. So that's why we asked this question. But Hannah's answer was, my relationship with food is definitely awful. Foods are good and bad in my mind. I definitely restrict and binge. I get super anxious when I know I have a social setting coming up that includes going out or me not having control of the food at someone's house. I definitely get really in my head and I feel guilty when I'm quote unquote bad on the weekends, etc. So I know that I can really empathize with this. I know that I had this exact issue when I was first starting my fitness journey. I think a lot of you guys probably can too. And then we also asked, when was the last time that you dieted / you tried to lose weight? And she said, it's been nonstop since the summer after my freshman year of college back in 2013. She started again with us in about 2022. So that is almost 10 years of complete, just consistent dieting and never feeling like you're not thinking about food and restricting calories. I mean, that is exhausting. And then we also asked, what diets or weight loss methods have you done before and when were they? And she said, nothing super specific. I just try to be in a calorie deficit during the weekdays, and then I quote unquote cheat on the weekend, and it's just a vicious cycle. So kind of like I highlighted a minute ago, just being stuck in that vicious cycle. And then on the training side of things, she was working out 6 times a week, sometimes 2 times a day. So obviously this is somebody who like fell a little bit more into the undereat, overtrain category. Okay. Now, moving into getting started with Accelerate Athletics. So the first phase that we went through together was what we would call a reverse diet. We also call this within the EA specific program, like the accelerate phase, just kind of a play on words of our, we break phases down into play on words of like our lingo. But this is really the phase, we call it the accelerate phase because it's really the phase where we are wanting to like put the body in a really good place metabolically, improve metabolism, fix metabolism, can't talk. And I highlight this here. The focus of this phase was to increase her maintenance calories, get her maintenance calories back to a place where she felt like she could live life, like have metabolic resiliency, be able to go have a cheeseburger on the weekend and it not throw things completely out of whack. So get those maintenance calories back up to a healthy place, build consistency between the weekdays and the weekends and not have this like yo-yo. It is one thing to go out to eat on the weekend and have something you might not normally have during the weekday. It is another thing to just completely like be super restrictive on a Monday and then like balls to the wall on a Saturday, so we wanted to get that consistency. We wanted to improve her mentality around food and really break some of this like good and bad mentality and not look at food as a bad thing, etc. And we wanted to build lean muscle while we did all this. So while we were increasing her calories, while we were getting her back to a good spot, we wanted this extra food to go towards a better body composition, right? And building lean muscle. So those were all the focuses of this phase. This phase lasted about 16 weeks, so about 4 months. We started her at 1650 calories, which was the focus was 130 grams of protein. We did not do all 3 macros at the beginning here because she was, I can't remember if she was brand new to tracking, but I do think a big part of this was the fact that she had been like so restrictive and obsessive that sometimes for somebody like that, having all 3 macros can just like setting somebody's carbs, fats, and protein and like having these numbers to hit can just exacerbate that like obsession. So just the focus on a calorie range and a protein goal. And then we did have the option of what we call a free meal. So for our clients, what a free meal means, this is very different than a cheat meal. I don't like the word cheat because it kind of implies this is like your one chance to go all out and go cheat on your diet. And like, we very much believe this isn't a diet. Like, it's just a lifestyle of making good choices, all of the time. And sometimes a good choice does include, getting the burger, getting the fries because it's, good for you mentality wise as well or whatever. But it's like, it's just also that one meal, not the entire day. So for us, a free meal means that you still like do your best the rest of the day. You still hit your protein goal outside of that, et cetera. And then you just go have a meal once a week where you're just not worried about plugging it into an app, but you're still like, stopping eating when you're full. You're still like deciding to pick something that like sounds good and feels good to you in that moment, et cetera. So anyway, that was the nutritional starting protocols. And then her training starting protocols were just 6 to 7K steps a day. Plus we brought her down to 5 training days a week, 5 workout days a week, rather than 6 times a week with 2 days, because we really needed to begin to pull down that overtraining. That was at the beginning. And then by the end of this 16 weeks, so 4 months later, we had gotten her up to 2000 calories. We did implement all 3 macros by the end of the 4 months because mentally she was in a much better spot and she was ready to kind of take things to that next level. And so we had her at 150 grams of protein, 200 grams of carbs, and 65 grams of fat, plus still enjoying that free meal. And then we were still at 6 to 7K steps and 5 training days. So some notes I just want to add in here of kind of what happened in between those 2 points within that 4 months was we were increasing those calories about 50 calories every 3 to 4 weeks. So this is pretty slow. This was a pretty slow reverse. And this for her had to do with the fact that, again, she definitely had a little bit of a scared mindset around food, and just continuing to bump calories like week after week would have definitely, I think, freaked her out a little bit more. So we took a very slow approach, knowing that, hey, we're going to spend 4 months probably in this phase before we begin to be able to go into any type of cut or anything like that. But it really is so dependent on the person. And this is why it's so hard to answer when people ask, like, how long do I need to reverse for? How long do I need to cut for? There's both the physiological factors, but also the psychological factors. And like, could we have done this faster and got to the cut faster? Maybe, but she also would have probably been mentally freaking out about increasing calories faster. You know what I mean? So you have to take those things into consideration. So for her, we increased calories, like I said, about 50 every 3 to 4 weeks. We incorporated all 3 of those macros at week 11. So it was a good bit in by the time we felt comfortable to do that. And this entire time, we did not use the scale. She was not weighing herself. She had no idea what she weighed during this time because the scale is like a mental trigger for her, as it is for a lot of people. So what I recommended with her and what we recommended to so many people who are in this kind of mindset at the beginning is ditch the scale. Like, just take away that factor that is hindering you. And all we focused on was, how are you feeling? How's your energy? How's your strength I can't speak today, guys. How's your strength in the gym? How's your mindset? And those were all improving. So in her head, she was just like, well, I'm crushing it, crushing it, without needing to know what she weighed. And then the end result of these 4 months were unknown weight loss. We don't know because we obviously weren't using the scale, but we can tell she had major muscle gain, which this is the only bummer for you guys who are listening on audio, is you cannot see her progress pictures, but they're on the screen here. And her lower body specifically absolutely just like thrived in this phase. Her glutes like elevated or plumped up. I don't know, perked up. That's what I should be looking for, so much, and rounded out so well. She had so much quad definition. And her core really, really tightened up as well. So we know she had muscle gain during this phase. And then I think the biggest, like, just coolest thing is that we increased a total of 350 calories from the beginning of this phase, and she got leaner, tighter, and stronger while eating more. Everybody's dream, right? So that was phase 1. And then after that 16 weeks, we were able to move into a maintenance phase. And the focus of this phase was to just get her maintenance calories stable. So hang out at that like 2000 calories, feel confident doing that, not really see any like weight gain or loss, like just kind of stabilize that maintenance and spend some time there. And get her, again, like I kind of said, mentally comfortable there. And then just continue to see more body recomp too, because you can still continue to build the muscle and lose body fat at maintenance calories. I think it's a common misconception that you need to be like way above maintenance calories to build lean muscle, or that you need to be way in a deficit to lose body fat. Like, being at maintenance, if you have really optimal training, and good food choices within those macros, like, you can continue to recomp your body really well. So that was kind of the goal of this. And I do think it's important to spend some time at maintenance before you go into a cut, especially if you're somebody who has been dieting for a long time. And if you recall from the beginning, she had literally been dieting for 9 years. So, 12 weeks, this phase ended up being 12 weeks at maintenance, 3 months in comparative to 9 years. It's like, when you think about it that way, you're like, okay, fine, I can like spend 3 months. My body probably deserves 3 months not trying to diet after nine years of trying to diet. So you got to kind of give your body a break and like let it feel like like have a diet kind of be new to it again, if that makes sense. So that's why we spent 12 weeks here. Starting protocols, we're still at that where we ended the last one, the 2,000 calories, plus one free meal. The macro breakdown in that was 150 protein, 200 carbs, 65 fat. And we ended this same exact macros because again, that's what maintenance phase is. However, we did increase her steps slightly during this phase, just starting to get her kind of her TDEE, her total daily energy expenditure, a little bit higher, getting her like her maintenance, or her BMR, et cetera, just a little bit higher. Now, some notes during this phase is another reason why we also spent some time in this phase, extra time in this phase, was that this was a little bit more of like a stressful personal and work life season for her. The holiday time always is for her. It's like a very busy time for her work, so it made sense to maintain. This is again, like you have to take so many factors into consideration with deciding if a client or if you yourself should, like what phase they should be in. Should you cut? Should you diet? Should you bulk? Like you have to take more than just your body, your metabolism into consideration. You got to take your life too. Did it make sense to try to be super strict with her macros and be in a deficit while she was so stressed and didn't even have time to like meal prep and work out? No. So that is why we spent again some time at maintenance. So you got to take those things into consideration. And we still did not use any use of the scale in this phase. So again, we had no idea like where she kind of was weight wise. But the end result of spending some time here is she really focused on just like good baseline habits. And I really think that this phase was a huge game changer for her with her relationship with food, because she now saw herself spend months at 2,000 calories, which to her at the time was like, she'd been eating 1,300 when she came to us. So now it was like, wow, I'm able to live life and just stabilize here at a really good amount. And again, if you're just listening, you're missing the progress pictures, but I have them side by side in this phase. And you can see that when she started to when she ended these 12 weeks, her body composition stayed pretty similar. I think we even did continue to see some lower body growth. And this is what I think gave her a lot of that confidence of, wow, I can eat more and like feel and still look good. So moving then into our next phase, phase 3. This was actually a large decision for her. Some of you may be surprised to know that we did not go into a cut right after this. We could have. We definitely could have. She was in a good spot to probably go into a cut, and we had spent enough time out of a diet to do that. However, what was so cool is that she was loving the process so much and loving eating more and loving her strength and loving her workout sessions and seeing herself, get stronger and look better, that she wanted to go into a little bit of a bulk phase. So the focus of this was to build more lean muscle, to increase her calories even more, and be able to increase her maintenance calories more. So we knew she was maintaining about 2,000, but if you can continue to add muscle to your frame, you're likely going to be able to increase your actual baseline, like maintenance calories a little bit more. And she wanted to be able to get to a place where like she could maintain her weight and eat more, right? And then continue to improve her relationship with food and her body even more. She wanted to mentally challenge herself, like, okay, I can be in a surplus where I know I'm like eating a little bit more than my maintenance and not freak out. Like, I want to prove to myself that I can do that. I loved that about her. She really had that mentality. So that was our focus. So, of course, we started this phase where we ended at the last one at that 2,000 calorie mark, 150 grams of protein, 200 carbs, 65 fat, one free meal. We ended this bulk phase at just over 2,400 calories. Her macros were about 155 protein, 295 carb, and 70 fat. Plus, we were also incorporating an entire intuitive day. So not just a free meal, but a whole day where she wasn't tracking. This is different than a cheat day. Intuitive day means that we were practicing like, again, just making the same choices that you typically would on any other day without having to plug things into MyFitnessPal and like whatever, right? And this is the goal we eventually most people want to get to, is be able to just live their life without tracking everything. So we were kind of practicing that and working on that. She still was doing 5 training days and 9 to 10K steps. Now, some notes here that I want to mention is I think that this phase really allowed her to get into the journey even more. She really started to enjoy the science of training, learning about tempo and intensity. And like, it was just so fun to see her grow from somebody who was like a cardio bunny, like afraid of, eating and just all the kind of diet culture trends, to like a badass gym bitch. You know what I mean? Like it was so cool. So the end result of this phase was that we did end up weighing ourselves at the end of this bulk, which because our next phase is that we're going to go into a cut. So we kind of want to know where we're starting from. And I give her so much credit because for the first time, like after this phase was 9 weeks. So we're at a total of, the first one was 4 months. The second one was 3 months. And then this one was just over 2 months. So we're at a total of 9-ish months in. So after 9 months of not weighing herself and going through a bulk and eating more, like I could understand where some people may be afraid to step on the scale for the first time. But she was like, no, I feel like I'm at a place where I can be objective about it now. So she stepped on the scale, and this is the first weigh-in that we had gotten with her time together in EA. And she ends up being the exact same scale weight as she was before starting EA, which is a huge win because she's eating at this point, at the end of this bulk, over 1,000 calories more than she was before she started EA. And her body composition is insanely different, insanely better, like looks more toned, has more muscle definition, isn't the quote unquote skinny fat that she was maybe a little bit more so prior. And so the fact that she is the same weight, but looks better and is eating 1,000 calories more, insane. So that was a really cool way to end the bulk phase. And then we entered into phase 4 for her, which was the cut phase. And again, we call this the athletics phase, which within accelerated athletics, this is the phase where we're really optimizing, performance and energy expenditure and manipulating nutrition to basically lose body fat, right? That's what a cut is. So that was the focus, lose body fat. And for her specifically, really take into or put into play everything that we had been learning and working on when it came to her relationship with food and be able to stay neutral about her relationship with food while she was in a deficit and not look at, food as a bad thing or like be afraid to eat something because she knew she was in a dieting phase, right? And so her starting protocols at the beginning of the cut were obviously where she ended the bulk. So we started at that 2,400 calories and one intuitive day. And by the end of her cut, we had brought it all the way down to 1,750 calories. The macro breakdown for that was about 145 protein, 165 carb, and 55 fat. We did take out her free meal, so she was tracking everything. This was actually her choice. She wanted to just be really on it and like really see what she could do during this period of time. We do not require our clients to take out free meals within their cuts, but it is important to recognize that you want to be conscious of that free meal because as our calories get lower, like you can kind of undo that quickly. Then the only thing from a like training perspective that we changed was we did add in some cardio by the very end. She was hitting 10K steps, her normal 10K steps, her 5 training days, and then 3 15-minute low intensity steady state cardio sessions. So for those of you who maybe don't know what that is, LISS is what we call that. It's just like stair stepper or incline treadmill walk, just 15 minutes, 3 times a week. That's all we were having her do, getting her heart rate to about 130 to 140 beats per minute. And some notes on that was that list was not added until week 12 of the 16-week cut. So she had no additional cardio or steps for the first 3 months of the cut, simply just calorie drops and was seeing tremendous progress. And I want to go back and highlight like her ending cut calories after 4 months of dieting were 1,750. Like that's still pretty high in the grand scheme of things comparatively to a lot of people who think that like they need to be at 1,300, 1,200 calories to lose weight. She was able to lose 8 pounds and lean out so well without dropping her calories, very far at all. So I think that just highlights the importance of spending time and doing the work. Like she spent, what were we at now? Like 9 months, getting her metabolism and body primed to a spot where she like it was going to respond really well to not having to drop calories very low, right? So yeah, the end result was 8 pounds down. And this is again where you're really missing out if you're on just the audio. Her progress pictures are insane, absolutely insane on this slide. Like you might even also be listening and be like, 8 pounds doesn't sound like that much. First of all, in 16 weeks, it's really reasonable. It's about a half pound a week, which I would say like a half pound to maybe 1.5 pounds per week is a healthy rate of fat loss. She also, by the time we started this cut, was already in really good shape and pretty lean. So for somebody that doesn't have a lot of weight to lose, it's obviously going to be a lot slower. And she had a lot of muscle mass. So like she looks super lean with even only 8 pounds down. So that was really fun. And then after that, we went into our next phase, which was a reverse out of this cut. Cause you have to remember, okay, great. Well, we're at this 1,750 calories. Like I don't want to live here forever. So the goal of this phase after the 4 months of cutting was to get back to her maintenance calories while keeping the lean body that she just got to, right? And not putting on excess body fat. So we started, of course, at that 1,750 calories and still doing her 10K steps and 3 15-minute cardio sessions. And then we ended the reverse, getting all the way back up to just under 2,100 calories one whole intuitive day. Again, we added back the whole intuitive day and just 10K steps. We took out the cardio completely. And the notes here of how we kind of went through this reversed was we increased really slowly. We were increasing about 100 calories every 3 to 4 weeks. Part of this too, this time around, was that she moved to checking in once a month instead of like every week. So we just weren't able to adjust as rapidly. And she also was in no rush again. So we just kind of took it slowly. We decreased a cardio session every couple weeks until we got down to just steps. Like the first week I took out one cardio session, she still had two. A couple weeks later we took out another, and a couple weeks later we took out another. So you'll notice here the trend is just doing everything pretty slowly so that your body has time to kind of adapt. It's your body's super smart. Like it's going to be able to it wants to always adapt without making major changes. Like it doesn't want to just add on a bunch of body fat because you stop doing cardio or what. Like you just have to give it time to adapt, and it should maintain pretty well. Something else I just pointed out for the coaches when I was doing the case study here that was kind of fun is she wanted to enter a little bit more of an experimental phase. And so we did that together. We decided to try to push protein a little bit higher for her and see if even at maintenance calories, if we could promote some muscle growth, maybe at a faster rate because we had protein a little bit higher. Everybody's super different. So you just kind of have to experiment with things like this. But for her, we found that she had a digestive issues when we pushed protein past a certain amount. So quickly we were like, okay, not a big deal, pull that back. But the end result of this reverse was we gained just 3 pounds from the cut, which is super normal. You're going to gain a little bit weight back from when you get to like the lowest point of a cut. But this put her new maintenance calories at 100 or sorry, not calories, her new maintenance weight at 139 pounds, which was much lower than her maintenance weight. I believe she started at like 150-ish before starting like accelerated athletics. And now she like her normal, like here's where I maintain at a solid calorie amount, et cetera, was 139. So basically what we got to after all of this was a new maintenance calories at a lower body weight. So in perspective, she's now eating about 2,000 calories to maintain her 139-pound physique versus when she started accelerated athletics, she was only eating 1,600 calories to maintain her 150-pound physique. So you can see that we were able to like improve her metabolism while getting leaner. Super, super cool. And then lastly, today, let's wrap it all around the big picture. Since all of that, we have went through another mini cut and are currently reversing out of that together because she just wants to continuously like improve. So we'll go through kind of mini bulks, add more lean muscle, mini cuts. But after her second cut, we ended that at 135 pounds. The lowest she got again was about 1,750 calories, 1735. So again, didn't have to drop low to get there. Now out of her second reverse, we are back to that like 139 where she sits pretty well. But her maintenance calories are even a little bit higher at 2,025. And her physique has gotten just even better. So all of that to say, I know that was quite a lot and I hope you were able to like stick with it on an audio standpoint, but she has done a complete 180 since day one. And it has been so cool to see. And I could not be more freaking proud of her. And on this last slide here, I have, and I'm going to read it, a message from her. That's just kind of her reflecting on the last 2 years together and like all that's changed. And you can just see how far she came from like the messages she put in at the beginning, right? She said, it's really nice after so much time working to get my body to a good place initially when I signed up with EA, and now being able to know and feel confident that I really can change how I look if and when the timing is right and during the right seasons of life, etc. But like very cool to feel confident knowing that I have the ability to do this and that my body will respond. It was actually kind of funny because I was telling my boyfriend the other day my weight progress, etc. And he was like, "What's your goal?" She said, "I don't have a weight goal. I just want to feel good," which was wild to reflect on because in the past it was always about a number on the scale. And now my weight is just feedback. Obviously, I still have off days or bad body image days in life in general, but overall, and especially right now during this cut, it's cool to see my body responding to the small changes each week. I don't know, I'm not perfect, but I've just come a long way in the last couple of years, and she absolutely has. So that is the roundup of our little case study on my fantastic client, Hannah. I hope that this was cool. I would love to know if you guys found this interesting or helpful, or if it was just a lot of numbers and things being talked at you through the podcast. But I really wanted to share this because I think that there's so much to be learned from it, and so much that many of you guys can relate to. And I hope this also sheds a light on just like how much we do as coaches and how in depth we really do go and how much we're looking at things. And yeah, it's just something I am proud of. And I really hold us and all of our coaches to a high standard and high quality of what we deliver. And I think this really showcases it. So thank you guys for sticking with me. I hope you enjoyed this podcast episode, and I will be back for another one next week. Talk to y'all later. Bye.